right. All right, dear devotees. So, Pandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuttapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vitangscha Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Anmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gorakvije Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dear devotees, good morning, good noon, well, yes, maybe for some, and good evening to all of the dear devotees assembled. And today I think I have the luxury of being able to be on Facebook at the same time. Quick click here and here. BACK. Back to basics. All right. Live. All right. We make sure the volume is down so we don't get anything strange. So, dear devotees, on Facebook, on Zoom, well, on Facebook, because that's what you see, on Zoom, and in the recorded version, then greetings to you all, obeisances to you all, and appreciation to you all. So we're all in different climates, different places, and I just got a shock. I saw myself too big. Okay, put myself small. There we are. But I see Rupa Nuga Prabhu very much in the Thailand spirit with the color of his shirt and the decoration behind his ear. I hope it's prasadam. It is. There we are, a nod of the head. And in India, that's quite a common thing. They put the prasadam flower behind their ear or on the ear. They hold it there. All right. So today is Sunday. We are continuing. And maybe we can put Paramananda Prabhu on the spot because he hasn't shown his form. I wonder whether he's available. And Tunga Rasa Didi is with us also. Tunga Rasa, very welcome. And of course, as I'm mentioning everybody, we must mention everyone who's here. Otherwise, I get into trouble for missing somebody out unintentionally. So we did mention Anna Krishna Didi and Brindavaneshwari Didi in Brazil, and Chintamani Devidasi in India, which place we will probably find out presently. And Priyananda Devidasi and Bin, Dana we mentioned, and Jayadev Prabhu. Very happy to have you with us with your icon of or your thumbnail of the deity of Mahaprabhu worshipped by Vishnu Priya. And last but not least, Leelamoy Prabhu in Brazil. So, okay, so Paramananda isn't immediately available. Oh, yes, he is. There we are. Oh, in slow motion. Very jerky. Bit of a limited internet connection, perhaps. And Nityananda Ram Prabhu, somewhere with the framework of a pandal behind him, which means the hint of a festival having been or a festival that's coming. Do I have sound?
I think he didn't
Raj, give us a
connect
minute.
his audio. Yeah.
Okay.
Raj, give me a minute. We're just going to change internet connection.
Yes, Prabhu. I understand. All right. So Krishna Reddy, you look like you have a question. Do you have a question for us? Or a contribution? You were with us yesterday. We were together in Brazil yesterday, and always with a very happy gathering in Brazil. And we had Chinmoy Dev Prabhu, our lively and hearty speaker, was with us yesterday. And he is really a devotee who is ready to do any kind of seva. One moment, really covered in glorious mud in the garden. Next moment, pujari. Next moment, speaking very nicely from the heart and doing whatever is required. Cooking, serving, doing many things. Whatever is required. And Gurudev liked that. And that one expression Srila Gurudev used was one that's used in cricket. So only in South Africa, oh, Australia, yes, Australians and South Africans here, they know about cricket to some degree. And cricket, they have one expression of an all-rounder is a player who can be in any position on the cricket field. He can be a bowler, he can be a batter, he can be the fielder, he can be the fielder in any position. And in this way, he can do anything. Whereas some of the players, they're very good at batting, but they're not very good at bowling, something like this. So they have their speciality. So Gurudev liked the all-rounder nature of devotees. So Paramanandru, yes, 59 seconds, 60 seconds. You asked for 60 seconds. You had them. And Anu Krishna Bruce is going to share her question or revelation in a moment. Or would you like, is it a question? Would you like to ask Paramananda Prabhu?
Dandavats, Gurudev, Dandavats, everyone. So nice to see everyone. I'm just eager to hear what Paramananda has to share with us. Dandavats.
Dandavat, Paramanandru and Pavan Krishna Prabhu, I see behind him. And Krishna Priya Devi Rasi also. Oh, Kamala. There's Kamala.
That's Kamala.
All right.
It's her birthday today, Maharaj.
Ah, happy birthday, 21 years old. Well done. You made it to 21. Hare Krishna. And Muktinath, your third Bangkok person, Muktinath, is on his way. Here's Krishna Priya Devi Rasi. What? Dandavat, Dandavat. And Sudarshan Prabhu, Rai Kishori, you're having a good stay in Thailand. So more contributions for today's program.
So Maharaj, I'm quite speechless after seeing you and all the gathered Vaishnavas. So I would like to pass the microphone to Rai Kishori first. She's been recovering after having your darshan faster than me.
I don't know how to understand these words. I'll look up the purport later. Rai Kishori, please share something. And we didn't mention Ram Sundar Prabhu, who's there, looking like Paramatma in the background, watching everything that's going on.
Dandavats to all the devotees, Dandavats Maharaj. I particularly like to read one section of Loving Search for the Lost Servant over and over again. I think it's page 18, but I can double check it later. I don't know if we have one here. We have one? No. But it's very beautiful. And he says, you know, I'm always amazed actually at the ability or the wonder that is Srila Guru Maharaj. He's taking the entire Bhagavad Gita and he summarizes it into one sentence. And he says, everything is quite all right. I need only adjust myself. That's an amazing realization to have from hundreds of thousands of verses, to condense it into such an axiomatic truth. And I try to reread that over and over again, actually, because I find it so wonderful and beautiful and energizing. And then he continues to say, it's very interesting. He said, even falling, if done properly, will be cause for our upgrade. In like 2 more sentences after that. I have, for what it's worth, tried to contemplate that, because sometimes the environment is coming in such a way that we're like forced to contend with ourselves to some extent. And it will reveal that we might not have as much progress as we originally thought. And what we're in search of is something very, very deep, actually, is real progress. And so it's actually still, even though it doesn't seem like it, it's still the Lord's sweet will behind that circumstance that's kind of uncovering something that we need to work on. And, sometimes we even see, like, in famous stories where, kings, they have kingdoms, and then all of a sudden they're reduced to like beggars, practically speaking. It's revealing something inside, like the fortune, and something's being alluded to in all of these scriptures with Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying, like, whether it's wealthy, whether it's not wealthy, whether it's an animal, whether it's in heaven, whether it's in hell, like those things are less important than learning how to love you. And I just want to learn how to love you. And whatever you want to put me through in order to become the servant that you want me to be, I want to become that servant. And so I find that like an eminently hopeful sentence to say, even falling, when done properly, may be cause for upgrade. And the other thing about that sentence that I find quite hopeful is that it's alluding to a timeline that's much longer. We're really like seeing, like, not only are we seeing like a small chapter of someone's life, right? We're saying we're living for multiple lives, and this is the continuation. And there's an attempt that's going on, and an attempt means like, all sorts of, cul-de-sacs and false summits and abysses and all, like a real proper adventure has inside of it. We're seeing a very small chapter of what's inside of it, but the Supreme Lord is seeing everything and knows exactly what's going on. And to feel that we're not alone, and it's not an unobserved corner of the universe that we happen to find ourselves in, is also like hopeful, sweet, and wonderful. And we have to kind of offer our obeisances to something that's so amazing, with the most intense possibilities of what can happen, right? That the most horrifying circumstance imaginable, we can still offer our obeisances to the Supreme Lord, right? He really is the Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarna Karnam. He's the cause of all causes. This earth is just a small mustard seed. There's millions of galaxies and millions of universes. And at some point in time, I need to try and become a devotee of the Lord. And whatever is occurring is happening by his sweet will. And I find that I will read that hopefully for the rest of my life and try to offer my obeisances to what that means. And I feel very grateful to these books, somehow or other being so kind to us that we have the opportunity to sometimes read them. What a kindness, what a message. It's not like an obvious message, right? The message of the mind is almost completely inverted of what that is. The message of the mind is, they say, even in psychology, what the mind is searching for is control. It's not searching for happiness necessarily, and it's not necessarily searching for love. It's searching for control. So the moment that we find anything is uncertain, our mind is disturbed. So like the obvious state of the mind, if you have if you can understand what's happening, is you can't control everything, which means you're going to be disturbed. all the time, all the time, without any kind of like fail, actually without any pause, right? Because there's going to be unlimited things if you just focus on them that you can't control. And what the faithful world is saying is everything that's happening is quite all right. Don't worry about all of those other things. They're also under the Lord's all-seeing eye. And you are under the Lord's all-seeing eye. And that's so amazing, because maybe we all think that it's like we're like the exception because we're just so fallen that it's like, how is it possible to love such a soul like me? So, but it's possible because we hear even the impossible can become possible. Still, O Achyuta, I have heard of the waves of astonishing mercy that come from you. So, you know, we're kind of offering our obeisances and in that direction. So I hope that's helpful to all. I find it helpful.
Sevarupa Devirasi, she would like to read for you because she has mined from the Loving Search for the Lost Servant that exact quote. Here it's short, and she would like to read for you that quote of Srila Guru Maharaj. I think, yes.
Dandavat pranams. Hare Krishna. So as your reference, right, Shori Didi, you can just confirm, but I have here Bhagavad Gita says, yes, from the Loving Search of the Lost Servant, like you said, page 18, you can't change the environment. If you want peace, you must regulate yourself according to the environment. The whole gist of Bhagavad Gita's advice is found here. Try to adjust yourself for the environment because you are not the master of the environment. All your energy should be devoted to regulating yourself and not the outside world. This is the key to success in spiritual life. Bhakti does not depend on the environment or on the dealings of others. It is ahaituki aprakrita.
Apratihata.
Thank you. Nothing can obscure that flow except our own ego. I am my own greatest enemy.
Jai.
Yeah.
I have a complementary, means complementing that on the same theme, also quote, and you may read it soon after Muktinath Prabhu arrives in Thailand. It's from the new book, which has come out, a devotional treasure chest. And it's also, what page number is it on? Oh, it's on page 14. So it's at the very beginning, almost the same page number. Okay, just very brief. In that, where do I begin? Now we are distracted and have many different interests. But if we can put God's interest in the center, and he's been talking about Krishna, we understand Krishna is God, okay, then we shall be able to find, to read that from all directions, only good news is coming to me, no bad or unfavorable news. All favorable news will come to me if I can be on that level, that plane, if my ego can take a stand there. In that universal wave, every vibration will only carry favorable news to me. Maya santushta manasaha. Then he who is satisfied, so Krishna is saying, he who is satisfied with me alone, sarvi sukhamaya dishaha, he will see that all the directions are only carrying happy news to him. 100% good news. So that's Krishna speaking. And then two more sentences. So a readjustment, so this is Guru Maharaj speaking. So a readjustment is necessary. And religion means proper adjustment. Yes, you all got it right. We are now incorrectly adjusted and are concerned with different types of separate interests. That is the difficulty. we have to change and find out the universal interest. That universal wave is the most fundamental current. Hare Krishna. And we hear this almost like we hear Chinadapi Sunichana. We hear so many times discussion about humility, tolerance, giving honor to others. And we hear so many times this adjustment, and that every wave is favorable. We hear this, it's being knocked into our head. And well, why? When we come to see that Srila Guru Maharaj there in Loving Search, recorded in Loving Search, is saying, the very gist of Bhagavad Gita is that we need to adjust to the environment. And the Bhagavad Gita is the very gist of the Mahabharata. The Bhagavad Gita is Krishna giving the very essence, the condensed essence of his teachings, and is quoted throughout our high scriptures, Chaitanya Charitamrita, loving search for the Lord's loving search for the lost servant. So very important point. So we should always discuss this, as we should always discuss Sharanagati, should always discuss humility, tolerance, and giving honor to others. And I recently had a challenge, which was about how we must see every wave as favorable. And I had a challenge really trying to, I can't say adjust myself. Okay, trying to adjust myself to someone else who somehow by habit sees every wave as unfavorable to them. And I'm not talking about a devotee here. Don't start
Speaking
thinking.
of me, Maharaj.
No, I'm not. That's why I'm quickly saying, don't anyone start putting, oh, you're talking about me. Oh no. Sometimes these things happen. We've had this happen. We've been saying something and somebody starts saying, oh, they're talking about me, but oh no, please, this is not the fact. I'm saying about me, but we think, okay, we can adjust to the environment. But when we're with somebody who's kind of stuck in a negative thing and feeling that, oh, that they are the victim, this came in my mind, that particular person, from one angle and another angle, just explaining how they are the victim. Whereas elsewhere, in one of the sermons books, perhaps, it is actually recorded there, that Srila Guru Maharaj saying that we cannot consider ourselves a victim. We are only a victim of our own doing, not of anybody else, and none else can harm us. But this person, we try to explain when they're explaining something, and then gently try to point out that, no, we shouldn't see in that way that I'm being done wrong to, about me, that the environment is unfavorable, others are doing this to me. But then you think you've sort of subdued that, and then from the next sentence or the next response is something else, but something. And then it's very difficult to stay clean, if you like, with such negative thoughts around. So we try our best to help others as far as we can understand would be the way Gurudev and Guru Maharaj will help. And at the same time, we have to be very careful ourselves. And when we see that someone's got that nature and Krishna puts that in front of me, puts in front of us, we also have to think, well, Krishna's done that for some purpose for me.
Yes.
So everywhere is a challenge. And it's not that, 2 weeks after joining into this wonderful Krishna consciousness, we've got it all worked out. Because I've been at least 3 weeks, and it's still the case. By the way, just because it came up, and anyway, the devotees, okay, so now we're going to talk about a devotee. The devotees see Krishna everywhere, right? Oh no, this is not an example of seeing Krishna everywhere. Okay, no, it is an example. Anyway, just a sense of humor. Devotees have a sense of humor. Do you understand this sense of humor?
I was an apple with very limited inventory, and I can't read the bottom sentence.
Maraj, no. I was
Read it aloud, Rai. Can you read it?
Okay. The oldest computer was owned by Adam and Eve. It was an Apple with very limited inventory. And I can't read the bottom of the sentence.
And I have.
Just one bite and everything crashed.
Good one.
And yes, this is from a devotee who sees Krishna everywhere. Okay. Sees the message of Krishna. Okay, anyway, that was a bit to the side, but I thought I'd share that. And devotees do have a sense of humor, headed by Srila Gurudev. He really had a sense of humor, as recognized by Srila Prabhupada many decades ago. Yes, Paramananda Prabhu, excuse me, interrupting with that.
No, Raj, I'm defeated by the enthusiasm of Sudarshan Prabhu who wants to say something. So I'm
Oh, yes.
deferring.
Mark, I was just going to comment briefly on what you were saying about humility, tolerance, giving honor to others, this sense of seeing the environment as favorable and coming from the Lord, and Sharanagati, and how these are really all interrelated. Guru Maharaj was saying to be humble, to be tolerant, and to give honor to others that are around us in particular is kind of the opposite of what the ego wants to do. And it's very difficult to be humble. Gurudev said you can fake humility though, but you cannot fake tolerance. So it's even more difficult to be tolerant. But why would you be humble and tolerant? That becomes the question. It's so contrary to what you want to do. So why would you do it? And what is the reasoning behind being humble? It's that same thing. The environment is coming from Krishna. Some set of experiences is coming to you. Something difficult has surrounded you that you have to tolerate. Why? It's because it's the will of the Lord. So to properly move through this sort of adjustment to the environment, to properly move through, how to actually move through seeing things as favorable is Trinadapi Sunichana. It is the practice of humility, tolerance, and giving honor to others. And to give honor to others in the sense of the kind of Vedic culture, when you meet someone, you say namaste. It's like I'm recognizing that the Lord has put you in front of me. So there's some honor in those that are surrounding you, that those are coming to you by will of the Lord, and they're necessary for your own advancement and progression toward deeper surrender. So it's a beautiful kind of interrelated practice, and that Trinadapi Sunichana is like a method of practicing how to actually harmonize with your environment.
I have a question for Sudarshan Prabhu or any of the assembled Vaishnavas there, and that is, if you meet somebody, because you are always meeting people. Okay, if you meet somebody who's really in a rut, in a very fixed kind of, I am the victim and all these wrong things have happened to me, I know I can't forgive them. How would you face adjusting them when it seems like they're just not going to adjust at all, despite all good advice?
I mean, I can give what comes to my mind. Definitely there has to be a spark of sincerity within the person ultimately, because you can lead a horse to water, as they say, but you can't make them drink. But some type of, Guru Maharaj says, some type of consciousness has to dawn within us that I am actually an exploiter, that I have been a tyrant, that I have been the one trying to domineer and colonize my environment. And until that awakenment comes, some pain is some pain is going to be gone through. It is inevitable, and it's very, very difficult to see, for the ego to see, that the cure to that pain is self-examination. The tatenu kampam susamikshimano. Susamiksha means auspicious self-examination. It's the only way. There has to be some examination within yourself where you can at least see the tiniest piece of fault within yourself. And once that happens, then there's a journey of thinking, well, maybe this is good. Or sometimes it's just a leap of faith. This is good. And to just repeat that to yourself, even though you can't see it. I mean, you know, I can say personally in my own life, I have gone through circumstances where I was in my, you know, intelligence / mental system, unable to see how this is good, right? You're trying to like examine it with your own fake sense of omniscience and saying, oh, well, there's no good here. How can this be good, right? And sometimes it's just a leap of faith to say, I know this is good. I bow down to this, and I asked, you know, that whatever progression, whatever understanding needs to come within me, comes within me. But there has to be some sense of actual humility when facing the wave of experience that's flowing over the field of your consciousness, so to say. Because ultimately it is just a wave of experience flowing over your consciousness. And so the thing that's experiencing it is you. And if the bad thing is if the only way that you can experience the thing is within you, then there's something wrong in you. And that has to be, you know, that has to be acknowledged. There's no other way around it. So
One small comment.
All this talk, it's coming, so don't be small.
Oh, no.
All these talks inspired a remembrance of how Govinda Maharaj was always stressing Trinadapi Sanishana, and he was asked, and a devotee said, Maharaj, how did you manage that? You're the embodiment on that very verse. And I said, Prabhu, out of desperation, because nothing else worked.
Amazing.
And I'm surrounded by very enthusiastic and very experienced devotees, Maharaj. So, like Kishori Didi, she wants to share something, something else.
Beautiful. Just one thing. Maybe like 20 years ago, I was really entranced by the stories of Akbar and Birbal.
Oh.
And the famous Muslim emperor, he had his advisor was a Brahmin, and it was the source of controversy, and many books were written about him. But there was one story particularly that like really caught me, and I think I shared that story like at least 100 times. And the story is that Akbar was always taking the advice from Birbal. And in fact, when one of them finally did pass away, the other one left shortly after. They had such an unusual relationship. And the whole court was quite disturbed by this relationship because of the Hindus and Muslims, the way they were relating with each other. So it's a very unusual relationship that occurred. And Birbal was the key advisor for the emperor. And one time they were walking through the garden, and Birbal was speaking with the emperor, and he said, God is good, and it's an absolute. And the emperor was like contemplating this, like, okay, like he's good. He goes, everything's good? He goes, yes, it's an absolute, means there's nothing that's not good. And he goes, you know, I don't know about this. And then the preface to this story, actually, it says, you have to be very careful with 3 things, with kings, with sadhus, and with fire. So we can also keep that in mind as the story continues. These are things we have to have some care when we are relating with them. So then he says, the emperor says, okay, everything's good. You're saying everything's good. He goes, well, you know, actually, I have like an infection on my finger, and it's so bad on this infection that I think that they're going to have to amputate this finger. How is this good? And Birbal responds, he goes, I don't know how it's good, but it's an absolute, and so it's good. So this makes the emperor extremely angry. He's not digesting that everything's good. So shortly thereafter, they go into the forest, and there's a dry well, and he drops Birbal to the bottom of this well, and he says, see how God is good for you as you starve to death at the bottom of this well. And they leave him there. They continue their hunting expedition, and as they're going through the forest, extremely powerful Kali worshippers manifest themselves, take over the king and all of his people, and they line them up to sacrifice them to goddess Kali. And they're going through each person, and they see, oh, this person's missing a finger. He's incomplete for this offering. Throw him to the road. So they throw the emperor to the side of the road. And now Akbar's having some realization. And he runs all the way back to this dry well, and he throws a rope to the bottom of the well, and he pulls his friend up. He goes, Birbal, it's true. God is good, and it's an unequivocal truth. And he goes, now you tell me, what realization did you have at the bottom of this well while you were waiting to die? And Birbal goes, if I was with you, they would have sacrificed me. So I told this story maybe like 100 times. And I told it to Tyagi Maharaj one time. And he had some inspiration. And so he sent me a raw transcription of Srila Gurudev. And he said, actually, in this transcription, which I still have, I'd have to hunt it down on a computer. He said, this foundational faith that God is good. And this is the summary of like one page. He says, this faith that God is good is so powerful that it will actually carry us to Radha Dasyam. This is Gurudev's own words. He said, just this foundational faith that God is good, it will carry us through so many layers. So, you know, in answer to your question, Marj, about how can we deal, right? Every one of us, sadly, maybe not you, Marj, definitely not you, Marj, but others, like we're all playing this violin where we're the heroic victim of our circumstance. That's like the ego's auto tune, you could say, is we're the heroic victim of our circumstance. But sometimes it's like those kinds of stories, there's such mercy inside of them, because the problem with being the heroic victim is actually there's almost like an immediate switch if there's a super subject. But if we're the subject, then we stay the victim. And so sometimes just pointing out, and maybe it's going to take years, but actually time ultimately doesn't matter too much in that process, because whenever that realization comes is actually like the dawn of good fortune. So that would be hopefully something where like that kind of expression is helpful.
It's really nice.
Yeah. So
you know, I actually just remembered something from sermons that I can send over. Sorry, I just remembered something from sermons. It's in this chapter called The Guardian Ruled Family. But the idea of that chapter is Goprit Vevarnam, which is again Sharanagati. And Guru Maharaj is saying, if you don't believe that the Lord is good, then you can never surrender. And the Lord is the master of the environment. So the person who's absolute good, who loves you more than you love yourself, has given you this exact circumstance. So then you have to interact with that and adjust with it. You have to. And Guru Maharaj in this one paragraph, he says, be optimistic, don't be pessimistic. Optimistic meaning this is good and this is taking me to good. And then he says, withdrawal from everything and everyone will give you real bliss. Don't be so selfish thinking. They are your environment and they have good in them. So it's like really nice thing. And then he moves on to actually this Bhagavatam verse, Bhagavad Bhavam Atmana, how to start to view everything that's coming to you through the grace of the Lord, etc. But it's really nice little paragraph in sermons.
Maharaj, just to conclude, I would like to ask one person who's been brought up in a very tolerant and humble environment, Thailand, Buddhist culture, and at some point in her life, she met with multiple personalities, and her levels of tolerance and humility had to go up significantly. So here is Krishna Priya. She's not, I mean, she always have a few words, but they're very profound and wise.
A very beautiful introduction, by the way. I was
Dhanyawad.
thinking, who are you introducing? And then you revealed Jai.
Okay. Dhanyawad Maharaj and Dhanyawad everyone. Okay, from this topic, actually, also I really like it's about like positive thinking. Everything's calm and you can see if it's good, you should do it. If it's not, oh, maybe this is a lesson, and you keep going. Right. It's like, oh, this is a lesson. This is okay. This is come to me, and then if that's not good, okay, not supposed to do it. I just correct things right and go on in positive thinking, Maharaj. And then it's like you be somehow realize. It's like more, how do you say, realization come and you learn more and more.
Yes.
Just by like listen and keep going, Maharaj.
Yes.
That's how I think it is realization to me. All the years it's happened.
And in the time of a great difficulty, one sadhu came here. And then Krishna Priya approached that sadhu for an advice. And the sadhu said, do what is right.
Yes. One sadhu give me a really hit in my consciousness. Actually, whatever things happen, do thing is right. The thing is right, you guide you. Do thing is right, and then everything will correct.
Jai Srila
That's-
Gurudev. Jai
Maharaj,
Srila
that
Gurudev.
sadhu is you. That sadhu is you.
If I said anything sensible, it was by the grace of Gurudev and Guru Maharaj. Okay, now we have a Krishna Priya. Almost everything you said was wonderful. Otherwise, Paranandru, here we have a question which is actually an interesting question. Please share with us how to tolerate ourselves when we are shown the bad qualities within ourselves. Now there's the question. It's from Seva Rupa. It's in the chat box here.
Well, I know a person who can answer that question, Maharaj. Sitting right behind me.
Ram Sundar Prabhu, Pavan Krishna Prabhu.
Pavan.
Both of you, but Ram Sundar will be first to answer yourself.
Well, I can only think of a few things that somewhere, I don't remember the exact quote, but that Krishna himself through the environment is revealing like where you need to adjust and what adjustments you need to make. And like that's the guru principle Nityananda. And that when we're supposed when that sort of adjustment is coming, then you have to it's part of tolerating, and then you have to the only way to be free from those bad qualities is praying for mercy, and by the purification of the Lord can those bad things be purified. So when that situation of my bad qualities are being revealed, then it's a chance to gain more humility and make you dive deeper into a more sincere prayer sort of thing. Now Pavan can answer the rest.
They're both well practiced, Maharaj.
I actually don't know how to tolerate myself, but
How do you go?
and when I have some like trouble in my mind about myself, I'm trying to switch focus to, like yesterday we sung songs about compiled by Guru Maharaj about Saraswati Thakur, and there was lines, just I don't remember exact words, but just by listening to about qualities of the Vaishnavas, we can have progress in our spiritual life. So that's what I'm trying to do always. I'm trying to listen to about Vaishnavas, Krishna's pastimes, Mahaprabhu. So, and it's very helpful. But how to tolerate myself, I don't know. It's just like wait and see. Only this can help.
And this aspect that Sevarupa put there in the question, which is how to tolerate ourselves when we are shown the bad qualities within ourselves. I mean, this is quite a hit, and it's our ego, and certainly, I hope it's not all the time, but it happens often. People do point out, they say something, and immediately it's this knee-jerk reaction of, no, I'm right, and they're judging me wrongly, or something like this. But it's all this atmosphere we are in, which is the opposite of the reality. And when Rai Kishori Devanasi was saying about exactly opposite, practically, our vision has to be the opposite, then we're told when we look in a mirror, when we see something in a mirror, everything is opposite. And when the shadow of the mountain and the tree in the lake, everything is opposite. So we have to take this false ego, and when it's pointed out to us something, and we have this knee-jerk immediate reaction, and somehow, we have to get over this fact that someone's taken a bit of my ego or bashed my ego, then it is being Krishna working through the environment to point things out in us that still have to be addressed. And I certainly have to also feel that, why do I feel out of balance? Maybe only for a few seconds or a short time, or something lingers on. But why should I be out of balance to have such things pointed out, or someone making comments? And whether the comment is right or wrong, we can also look and see. And Guru Maharaj, he's saying, and I don't know exactly where this is, and it may be on a recording, because we do listen to recordings which aren't necessarily there. But Guru Maharaj says, when somebody says something to us, we have to first look and see how much it is true. And then we can maybe see that there is some envy there. That can also be there. We just let it be that, okay, someone's got something, some other element within the purpose of that comment. But even that envy, we're not to be disturbed that somebody else, they may have some envy. But Guru Maharaj is saying, first of all, we will inquire how much of what they're saying, is it true? So look at ourselves, and then we will put anything else in another department. But Guru Maharaj always aloof from all of these kind of things, and giving us, what are our masters doing? They're giving us advice of how to live. And now also say we're very active on the keyboard, because she's found also in Sermons, Volume 1, that quote in the Guardian Ruled Family. Be optimistic, don't be pessimistic. So this is Srila Guru Maharaj. Be optimistic. And by the way, elsewhere, I'm not sure if here, but Guru Maharaj says, devotees are optimistic. This is the nature of devotion, to be optimistic, the opposite of pessimistic. Some people say, they accuse, oh, you're always talking about dying and this, that, and the other. Well, yes, but we're being optimistic because we are using our living time in the proper way. And we'll find we're still living when we die, as it were, what the regular people consider as death, the body going. So be optimistic, don't be pessimistic. You are good, and all around you is bad. And withdrawal from everything and everyone will give you real bliss. Oh, this is a question. I mean, this is Guru Maharaj saying, you are good and all around you is bad. And withdrawal from everything and everyone will give you real bliss? Question mark. Don't be so selfish thinking. That is your environment. They should be relied upon. They also have goodness in them. So try to adjust yourself with them. Tateno kampam, etc. Srimad Bhagavatam. What tateno kampam? Srila Guru Maharaj saying. All our situations in life occur by His grace. His with a capital H, the Lord's grace. Especially try to adjust with the guardian who is at the bottom of all creation. What? At the bottom of all movement and all creation, excuse me. Have faith in Him, and through Him approach your environment. Then everything will be properly adjusted. And just beneath
Then the
that,
next section. Oh, sorry, Marshall.
well, I was just going to say, just after that in the chat box, Chintamani is there saying, I am a Sri Nandana Charja Bhavan, now listening. So devotees are listening in all kinds of places of the world, sitting in Nandana Charja Bhavan, where Mahaprabhu first met Nityananda. Okay, let's not get sidetracked. Let's stay on the subject. But it is nice to, it's kind of sweet to know. Yes, then the next, okay, we're going to read the whole book very shortly, Surashan Prabhu, but please do tell us, what's the next section?
The next section, Guru Maharaj, where he's saying, through him approach your environment, which is an amazing kind of teaching. But how do you do that? I mean, if you think about it, in essence, that is what Krishna consciousness is, to be conscious of Krishna as you interact with your life. And then the next section is him saying practically how to do that. How do you actually approach even what may appear to be trivial things within your life, the happenstance of the daily moments through Krishna, which is very beautiful. So now we have to read it. It's got several pages, but it's nice. Now we have to read it, Maharaj. I'm sure. So the homework is coming.
Just if I could just make one comment on this question of Seva Rupas. It's a really good question. And I find it really amazing that somehow or other we cycle to this kind of tenet to remain optimistic. And even in Bhagavad Gita, it's saying to be actually morose or depressed or lamenting is considered in the mode of ignorance. So there's something very strange that needs to be straddled. I'm realizing that I have some serious flaws, but I cannot just lay there and lament that I have flaws and let me not go through transformation, right? Because the nature of depression is actually this kind of heavy weight where we feel like we can't move or something like that. And so we don't want to fall prey necessarily to low self-esteem. And one time I was actually speaking with Goswami Maharaj about this subject. And he's saying, actually, we don't get to be the full judge of ourselves. This is important, right? We're saying we don't get to understand everything that's happening in the environment. And we're actually kind of mystified by what's even going on in here. The Lord is seeing something valuable in me. I may not be able to see that. And I have to have faith in their words that I progress through these different abysses and valleys. Very important point to not just see I'm hopeless. I have all of these terrible qualities and I'm never going to get over them, right? Still the impossible is possible. The ability to get through these things may not come from us, right? We will be finding ourselves in circumstances with no obvious solution many times in our lives. And this is where actually we can say all of the the reading and the practices are all coming colliding into the real moment of your life. And you're saying, oh, now I'm starting to see the beauty of what obeisances means. I'm taking the highest part of myself and putting it at your feet. Lord, I'm completely desperate, right? Thakur Vaishnava, take me by the hair and pull me to the opposite shore. These kinds of notions are coming out of the hearts of the Vaishnavas. And they're very beautiful sentiments but to be like very like vigilant and careful, I would say, to not, you know, the risk on one side is we become prideful and we don't really like pay attention to our negative qualities, of which there's like an ocean of. Or two, we start drowning because we see that like it's hopeless, we can't make it through. The faithful world is saying there's something valuable in you. Krishna and the devotees and the Vaishnavas of the upper world and the Seva energy is seeing some potential in you. And then you say, I don't see it, but I want to worship you. And I don't really have any other shelter in this place. And there's some motion inside of that practice. Because if we just think of what we have to get over, like it's a complicated way to get out of ourselves from our own kind of like tainted mental perspective. And then we're saying, oh, I offer myself in the fire of self-sacrifice. Right? So something is getting transformed and burnt off ultimately. And then we only need to experience one tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of that to know that there's some reality there. Something that I was very attached to that I thought was important has become negligible. If this, then that, then my spectrum of possibilities has gotten larger. And then that gives us enough hope. Maybe it can happen again. That thing that seems so paramount and right in the center as my main obstacle and seems impossible to get through. That was me some period of time ago. I couldn't get over that thing. And somehow or other, because I'm offering myself to the faithful, and I know they will give the next adjustment. So that just, I hope that's helpful, because to fall prey to low self-esteem and then have that be the reason we don't attempt is also like its own pitfall, so to speak. Like the famous question where they're talking to Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen. And Prabhupada looks at him, he's like, you're not the most anything, like calm down. So, you know. You're what?
You're simply insignificant.
Haribol. You're simply insignificant. So.
Get used to that.
You're not super special because of like how dark the abyss is that you're wandering currently. So anyways, I hope that's helpful on the journey.
And this is also in the theme of Srila Gurudev saying, my religion is not to see the fault in others, but to see the fault in myself and then correct that. Not just to know I'm faulty, but to address it and to correct it. And elsewhere we offer everything in the fire of the sacrifice of Nama Sankirtan. So many tips we get. And actually I have other quotes lined up as Rais was speaking and is speaking, but I already lined some up. But there's just so much on this theme of adjusting to the environment. And it's not just the external, but it's from the inside out. And through my, in my conscience or my ears, or repeatedly hearing Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentaries on the Upadeshamritam verses, and where he's saying it's not just a matter of we don't behave wrongly, we don't think wrongly. We have to address everything and recognize, that external activity is coming from internal thought. It's got its seed inside. So our behavior with others, our attitude to others, our not doing the wrong things, our doing the right things, all is coming from inside. And so it's from the gross to the subtle to the more subtle, but everything has got its substantial part, like within us, and it's all about consciousness. It's not just about like the etiquette of, how you lay a table, where do you put the fork and the spoon. It's not like an etiquette of something external. It's the consciousness within. And consciousness, believe it or not, comes from Krishna. He's given us everything. And even the yogis, and Krishna is telling this, everything is coming from the Lord. The yogis who want to get, bliss, 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 feel bliss. I want to be blissful. What is bliss? Everything has come from the Lord. And he is the embodiment of bliss and eternity and knowledge, by the way. Anyway, lots of things, and it's an infinite topic. Okay, here's a one-liner on our infinite number of posters, ethereal posters that we have everywhere. Where do I begin? I was going to say one line. Okay, it's going to be more than one-liner. Okay. All is sweet. Okay, this is Srila Guru Maharaj. All is sweet and all accommodating and all embracing in the original vibration, like the source of everything. And this is the advice of Bhagavatam and Mahaprabhu. And there we will find the wave of love, prema. This is most accommodating and comprehensive. And this fulfillment is given as bhakti, prema bhakti, love with a capital L, love. Without love, none can be, none can hold a significant position. Now, this is the one-liner. Everything else is defective. Only love is perfect. Justice is also defective. Justice comes to divide things between many. No unity results. This is the position of justice. But above that is the land of affection, the land of love, prema bhumi. Love only can be the most comprehensive cause. Love can accommodate or harmonize anything and everything. Love is the most generous, the most accommodating, and the most fulfilling. This is the conclusion of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. So today we've got the very gist of Bhagavad Gita, the very conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we've got many practical tips for our life's journey, putting into practice. And by the way, we must welcome those who did join a little later. So Jayadev Prabhu, good to see you with us. And Radha Sundari Didi, Gangalila Devidasi. Each of you joined a little later on. And Ishwarananda Prabhu, who's in the temple, or his telephone's in the temple, or was. It's a thumbnail, maybe. The temple in Sweet Lake City. Hare Krishna. All right. And the only one we didn't hear from was Kamala. We're way over time, Kamala. But I really don't want to miss you out. You've been in Japan. You've got lots of devotional experiences. And you're sitting there very quietly. Would you like just to say, just 2 or 3 minutes, something for us?
Wonderful, everybody. I'm feeling quite at a loss for words. I am selfishly just soaking up everything that I'm hearing around me. And I'm just so happy and supremely grateful to be in the company of such people and have the opportunity to hear from such amazing souls. Dandavat.
Dandavat. Very beautiful, and appreciating the devotees. We are so happy. And we can hear the turkeys outside too, but we won't give them a chance. They're already saying their part. We can hear them chattering away.
Just saying, here, here.
And you see the turkey's ego. Everybody's got a mundane body and a subtle body. the turkey stands in front of the glass door, seeing its reflection, looking how beautiful he is. And to us, we have to say, we do wonder why Krishna made a turkey look like it does. It doesn't look like the most beautiful
would
bird
say,
in the
Maharaj,
creation.
it was the first attempt to make a peacock.
I heard that from somewhere. Yes.
Must
Okay.
be.
Okay, dear devotees, we better continue with harmonizing with the environment and seeing the beauty everywhere, even in a turkey. All right, dear ones, there's lots more to say, to be continued for our whole life, the subject of adjusting to the environment, humility, tolerance, giving honor to others, and seeing our own fault and attending to that. Be positive, as we said before, be positive. Jai Shila Gurudev Om Vishnupad Shila Bhakti Sunda Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Shila Guru Maharaj Om Vishnupad Shila Bhakti Rockok Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Shri Prabhupada Om Vishnupad Shila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Rupa Guru Bhaga ki Jai. Jai Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Jivanamrita ki Jai. All the Shri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Brinda ki Jai, Namacharya, Haridas Thakur ki Jai. All the assembled Vaishnavas ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavas ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavane Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Jai Shila Bhaktiranjan Madhusudana Maharaj ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. And we're happy to see Ishwaranand. It's not a thumbnail, it's actually a live. The camera is on. I thought perhaps it was a thumbnail of the temple room in Salt Lake, Sweet Lake City. But there we are live. All right. And Chintamani there in Mayapur. All right. Dandavat, dear ones. We'll meet again always, but we'll meet again on Zoom soon. Hare Krishna.